It's Batman time.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman.
Never had to say I'm Batman. I showed up. People knew I was Batman.
Hello and welcome to another video here at Movie Mash, and we're going to call this Movie Mash Rewind. Yes, we're going to go back and look at some movies from back in the day that I loved and want to talk about, and I'm going to get to those. But because this is the Batman week, you could say, well, I'm going to hit Batman 1989. So Batman, directed by Tim Burton, starring Jack Nicholson, Michael Keaton, Kim Basinger, Tracy Walter, Jack Palance, Michael Gough, Billy D. Williams. Now, I think I've got it right. I'm sure there's a few more stars, but these are the ones at the top of my head. Now, we got my version of this is how I'll explain it is, and for people who don't know, is that I feel like on this movie, it's not quite an origin story. It's more of, well, there's a legend of the Batman. Everyone don't believe. Some people don't believe it. Some people do. There's a rumour that he's going around. There's a man, not quite a man dressed as a bat, but more of a giant bat. And which is good because that's what he needs. But at this point, he's more at petty criminals around the side and on dark corners. He's not quite the big, massive legend that he becomes. He's more of a myth, you could say. And it's a scare tactic, which is really well executed. Now, obviously, as we know, he comes across a gangster called Jack Napier, and long story short, ends up dropping him into a vat of chemicals, and he becomes the Joker, which is a lot worse. And not only is he quite intelligent, but he's insane, and what he wants to do doesn't make sense, but what the Joker does doesn't make sense anyway. And the only person who can stop him is Batman. So there's the synopsis, my version of the synopsis. Now, right, there was, back in the day, back in the day, there was nothing like this. I mean, even to this day, of all the promotion, of all the things I've ever seen in my life, this was the biggest. I mean, I'm sure we have Avengers was going on, all these kind of other things are going on, but this was huge. I mean, like, it just seemed to, it came out around the summer in the UK. Probably the same time everywhere, to be honest. And it just seemed to be the whole year dedicated to Batman. I mean, I couldn't move in where I'm from, where we had posters, pictures, T-shirts. It was on TV. It was in McDonald's, and we'll get to that about the second one. It was everywhere. There was graffiti on the wall. Even I was drawing it in my school book, and I was getting in trouble all the time. But I like drawing the symbol along with the Superman sign. But yeah, it was easy to do for me. But it was like huge. I'd never seen nothing like it. And to this day, I still don't think I have. Now, I know a lot of people are going, oh, well, no. If you were there and you were in the UK, this was like, no. Now, this is back in the day when there wasn't about 10 superheroes a year. This was a big, massive deal. And, well, I had to go and see it like everyone else. What I remember is when Michael Keaton was originally cast, nobody wanted him. There was something like 50,000 petitions signed, sent to Warner Brothers not to have him. Because up to this point, Michael Keaton, he was more of a comedian actor. And if anyone knew him from Mr. Mom and stuff like that, well, and probably Beetlejuice, he's still comedian type. But Tim Burton had a lot of faith in Michael Keaton. And in a sense, it's like, a lot of people wanted this muscle-bound looking Bruce Wayne. But you know what? They were looking for the average type guy who looked normal. And Tim Burton says that Michael Keaton, I keep saying that, looked crazy. And let's face it, he pretty much does with his crazy eyebrows. But as I said, a lot of people wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger type people and like that, and it didn't work. And we got what we got. And I'm nobody's complaining now. Also, what I remember, there was a few people like the Hollywood studios, like Warner Brothers. They didn't want Michael Keaton either. They wanted stuff like Mel Gibson and stuff like that. big names like, and I'm not saying Mel Gibson wouldn't have done a bad job. I mean, he probably would have. But you know what? Let's not change what was already good. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Now, when it comes to Jack Nicholson, there was a problem. Tim Burton wanted a guy called John Glover. Now, John Glover, now that I look at him and I see back, I can see why. This guy had a unique kind of look, and he does have that kind of pointy looking face that the Joker had on the comics. And he has often played unhinged type characters. Now, for those who don't know John Glover, he's not a massive star, but he has been on a few films. Like, all right, so people might know him mostly from Smallville. He played Lex Luthor's dad. He also was on what's the one with Bill Murray? Scrooged. He was on Gremlins, and believe it or not, he ended up on Batman and Robin, the Joe Schumacher version, as the mad scientist who turned Poison Ivy into Poison Ivy. So yeah, but I understand why. But when it goes back to Jack Nicholson, he was born for the character. He actually is the Joker in real life. So I mean, couldn't have got, but he didn't want it. He wasn't interested, and he was hot property at the time. There was a few names being thrown around like John Lithgow and stuff like that. Yeah, Steve Martin was offered a part at some point, or he auditioned for it. As I said, they wanted Warner Brothers wanted Jack Nicholson, and he wasn't interested. So I think famously everyone knows, for people who do know this, Robin Williams was offered the part, but it was more of a kind of to encourage Jack Nicholson to take it, make him jealous, and it worked. But Jack Nicholson, he took the part, and he went for a price cut, but he had conditions. He went for a £6 million, or dollars, whatever it was, and he said that not only that, he wanted 3 weeks of work, that's it, and he wanted to have time off for the Lakers games. When the Lakers play, that was it. He was not playing, he was not acting, so that was it. But he also asked, instead of for the big £10 million, he said 6 million, and I will take a percentage. And now, along with all the merchandise and all that, to this day, he ended up making something close to £100 million or dollars, he keeps saying. So yeah, he did well out of the movie. And I remember back in the day, it felt like it was more of a joke. If everywhere was Joker, and all his T-shirts with, you can't make an omelette without making eggs, or if you're gonna go with a smile. It was just slogans everywhere. It felt more like the Joker was a bigger star than Batman himself. And in a way, I see why. And today, I think he made the Joker more darker and more menacing than Romero did in the original one. So, getting to the story. Right, well, basically, after the success of Superman, they thought, well, the next best thing to do is Batman. But there was it was written as the original comic instead of the old TV show, which was all campy. People knew about it. And the thing is that Warner Brothers didn't want to go with this dark kind of thing. They wanted it all light and bright because nobody wanted a dark Batman type thing. And all the writers were just, all the comic book writers were still, no, we need this dark kind of broody, the realistic type way, not like the campy Adam West show. And they weren't having it. They even wanted Bill Murray to play Batman at one point, and can you imagine that? Although I have seen Bill Murray playing a couple of dramatic roles, which he didn't do too bad, but I don't think anyone would have taken that seriously. Now, in the 80s, the comics like The Killing Joke and The Dark Knight Returns, they were massive successes, and it encouraged DC, Warner Brothers, to go, you know what? Maybe they're onto something here. So, and after the success of Beetlejuice and how dark it was, well, they thought, well, let's go with this dark version of Batman, and look what we got. I mean, it's brilliant.
Wait till they get a load of me.
So Kim Basinger playing the beautiful Vicky Vale. She was originally supposed to be Sean Young. Now, people will know Sean Young probably mostly from Blade Runner, and I think she was on Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. So, yeah, but she got pregnant at the time, and she couldn't do it. so she had to pull out, and they got Vicky Vale, Kim Basinger in, and you know what? She did a great job. She did what she needed to do. She's beautiful. She's actually a good actress. Great job. Now, we got Michael Gough, who is an English actor who'd been around the block. He was a perfect choice. Actually, he was a great Alfred. But a lot of people were moaning about the way he let Vicky Vale into the Batcave towards the end. And just to let everyone know, because everyone's screwing, and I understand why, because he just randomly left her into the Batcave. But what it was is, there was pacing issues, and they were running out of time, and there was more of a story to be told with that, but they didn't have time. So just to move the story along, they had to throw that in. They couldn't have done any more. And I'd like to have seen how it should have been, or what they wanted to do, but we'll never know. And to this day, no matter what happens, he let her into the Batcave. I mean, Alfred, what's wrong with you? Now, along with the positives, everything on this film was great. This is like a film like no other, especially at the time. It looked at the scale of it, the darkness, the gothic look, fitting, everything. Batman's costume looked great. Michael Keaton was great. Jack Nicholson was great. The cast was great. Everyone was great. The story was what it was, but you can't falter it. It was 1989, and look what we got. This has actually changed how, like Superman, this changed how we saw superheroes. It showed we could do a darker version. We can do a better version. It doesn't have to be all light and bright and campy. It can be all dark and moody. And we got that. And you know what? I love it. It's so good. I just rate this. I can't rate this film any higher. Now, I can't not talk about the Batmobile. The Batmobile is the coolest looking Batmobile we've ever seen on screen. I don't give a shit. Now, I do like the Tumblr on Batman Begins and stuff, Nolan's version. I really do. But this one was so sexy. This is the #1 coolest looking Batmobile that we've got through any Batman film. That's including the new Ben Affleck's version, and including Robert Pattinson's. This is the #1. This is what the Batmobile is. When you say Batmobile, this is what it is. Just so you know, a little thing I wanted to say is, all the suits, apart from the Batman costume, every single suit and everything that everyone wore on this movie was made by Giorgio Armani. That's some big money. I mean, I don't know how big he was back in 1989, but he's pretty big today. But yeah, everything was made by Giorgio Armani. So, you know, they had some real style. Now, another positive, the score with Danny Elfman. I mean, the whole soundtrack, it's iconic. It's up there with Superman, Indiana Jones, Jaws, James Bond. It's up there. There's nothing. I mean, like, I have the album myself. I find it to be I often listen to it. It's so good. Just on a side thing, one of my favorite parts, apart from the main theme on the movie, with when it comes to the soundtrack, was the people who might know is the bit when he has Vicky Vale in the car and he's driving through the forest towards the Batcave, and that score, that haunting kind of score comes on, and it just kind of sums up everything, who Batman is, what's going on. It's so good. And I remember watching it when I was a kid. To this day, I still feel the same when I look at it. It's that good. Now, speaking of soundtracks, we had Prince. Now, a lot of people hate this, but I love it, because when I was a kid, this was absolutely great. So you got Prince, who was one of the biggest stars at the time. He still is. Even he's dead, he's still a big star. But he was massive at this point, and they got him. Now, Tim Burton didn't want a musical soundtrack, to go with the company and money and all that. We need a soundtrack. So we got Prince. And I don't care what anyone says. I love the Bat Dance. Yeah, it is one of my favorite songs. I love it. I don't give a shit. Right. And I love all the rest of the tracks on it. They're all really good, even though some of them are a bit dated and maybe a bit, soft back in the day. But today, I don't care. It's still a great soundtrack. And if you haven't heard it, go and check it out. Now, on to negatives. These are more like nitpicks, I'd say. Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as say there were negatives, just little nitpicks, right? So, as spoilers, the killing of Bruce Wayne's parents, it turns out it was Jack Napier, who the Joker. It turns out. Now, obviously, it wasn't. It was Joe Chill in the comics, right? But I'm still on the fence today if I like that idea. I'm still not sure. Some parts of me thinks, yeah, all right, he made Batman and Batman made him, so now they've come together and now, they've made each other. But I'm still on the fence about it. Maybe it's a bit too much. But you know what? It's just a nitpick. It's something I'm on the fence about, and I'll probably be on the fence for another 10, 20 years. Also, and one more, and it's a nitpick. I would say there is a little bit of pacing issues. It can be a little bit slow at times, especially when he's climbing up the stairs in the tower in Gotham towards the Joker at the end. That can go on a little bit too long. I wouldn't change it now, though, for nothing. I mean, I wouldn't. If you know, I would not change not a single thing. So it's only a nitpick. It's not a big deal. Again, as I said, I wouldn't change it. So overall, Batman 1989 is an awesome movie. It is one of the best superhero movies today. And does it still hold up? I would say it does. Now, this film isn't for everyone. For the kids that today who watch Avengers and Spider-Man and stuff like that, it may be a bit dark. It may be a bit too slow and a bit grimy for that kind of thing. It's not all wham-bam, fast-paced and catch lines and every 2 seconds. But it's still, for me and for the adult people, I still think it holds up. I think if you got an adult to sit down who didn't know anything about Batman and watched it, I still think it's enjoyable, very enjoyable. Or am I just being biased? Maybe I am. But I love everything about this movie. I loved all of it. Now, on another note, there's something I wanted to say. It drives me mad. It's not to do with anything. I just wanted to bring it up and say it. Back in 1986, as we all know, there was a film called Aliens. It's the sequel. And we all know about Batman, but they're all filmed in Pinewood Studios, which isn't a million, it was about 30 miles away from me. As a kid, 30 miles is a different country. And 1986, I didn't even know, I was too young to see anything. I don't know anything about aliens or anything like that. But it turns out there was some scenes filmed at my doorstep. We're talking about walking distance. I could see it from my house. There was a closed down power plant near where I live near my house, and there was some 2 scenes filmed from in Batman and Aliens, and it's the same scene. You can see the same if you look. You can see it's the same. The bit in Aliens where they're in the power plant where they can't use the weapons because of it's going to explode. And it's the chemical factory where he drops Jack Napier in the acid. That was filmed at my doorstep. In 1989, when I'm screaming, running around thinking about Batman, it was happening right at my doorstep. Now, as a kid, I was kind of boisterous. I'd climb a lot. Me and my mates, we would climb up stuff. We'd climb up scaffold, building sites, broken out with playing swords and throwing stones at each other. We used to climb everywhere. You couldn't do that today, but back then we did. I used to climb into places like this. Now, it turns out about 10 years ago the power plant was knocked down, but apparently there was a lot of props from Batman still left in this place, and some alien stuff. There was some stuff on the wall. There was some Batman gloves was in there. There was a part of a wheel. There was all. Can you imagine if I knew that back then? I would have jumped over that and I would have taken that. It would have been a treasure to me. But you know what? I'll have to live with knowing that it was right on my doorstep. It's like knowing you had a lottery ticket and you've lost it. Well, unfortunately, Dad will never know. But I kind of get a kick out of knowing it was there where I'm from. But I'll have to get over it. So, what did you think of Batman? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Is it the best? Is it the worst? Is Michael Keaton the best Batman or the worst? Same as Jack Nicholson. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, and like and subscribe as normal. And if you're gonna go go with a smile. But for now, and until next time,